Everyone's acting like I committed some terrible crime, but let's be real. I just said what everyone was thinking. My name is Samantha Anderson, and I'm 35 years old. I live in a cozy 2-bedroom downtown and have been dating Owen Martin, my boyfriend of 8 months, who apparently can't handle a little honesty. His brother Jacob, yes, the hot one everyone's freaking out about, was literally voted most attractive realtor last year, so it's not like this is news. Owen's mother Diana keeps sending these disappointed texts, and his sister Emily canceled my +1 for her engagement dinner, which is completely excessive. I mean, who hasn't noticed when someone in their partner's family is attractive? These people are acting like I proposed marriage to Jacob right there at the grill. But let me start from the beginning. It was one of those perfect summer afternoons when everything smells like charcoal and promise. Owen's backyard had this cute little setup with string lights zigzagging overhead. Not that they were on yet, but you could picture how cozy it would get later. Everyone was doing that casual milling around thing people do at cookouts. Paper plates getting soggy from burger juice, condensation dripping down beer bottles. I remember the exact moment because I was trying not to drip ketchup on my new white top. You know how sometimes you say something without really thinking? Like your brain just decides to take a coffee break and your mouth goes rogue? The sun was in my eyes. I'd had maybe 2 hard ciders, barely enough to count, and Owen was doing his thing at the grill. He always gets so serious about grilling, like he's performing surgery instead of flipping burgers. Jacob walked by with this Pinterest-perfect plate of deviled eggs his girlfriend probably made, and I just said it. It's weird how you ended up with the hot brother. The words just slipped out, like they'd been waiting behind my teeth all afternoon. You could actually hear the silence spread across the patio. It was like someone had hit pause on a movie, except the sprinkler in the neighbor's yard kept making that tick-tick-tick sound. Owen's hand went completely still on the spatula. His mom, Diana, had this look on her face like she'd just bitten into something sour, and Emily, his sister, actually took a step back, like my words might be contagious. "What did you just say?" Owen's voice had this edge I'd never heard before. The spatula clattered against the grill. I tried to laugh it off. "Oh, come on, I'm just teasing." Everyone knows Jacob does those charity calendar shoots for his real estate firm. But Owen's face. God, he looked like I'd slapped him. Without another word, he turned and walked straight into the house. The screen door made this horrible slapping sound behind him. "It was a joke," I called after him, my voice way too loud in the awful quiet. Seriously, people, it was just a joke. But nobody would look at me. Diana suddenly needed to reorganize the condiment table, and Emily practically sprinted after Owen. I could hear the whispers starting, that horrible little hiss of gossip, and Jacob just disappeared. Probably to find his girlfriend, which, honestly, proved my point about him being the hot one, right? I hung around for maybe 20 minutes, trying to act normal, but it was like I'd suddenly become invisible. Or worse, like I was radioactive. Even the kids were avoiding me, which was ridiculous. Finally, I just grabbed my purse and left. Nobody tried to stop me. The text came 3 hours later, just when I'd convinced myself Owen would call. "I need space." That's it. 2 words and a period, like he was rationing characters. I typed out maybe 15 different responses, deleted them all, then finally sent back, "You're overreacting. Let's talk tomorrow when you've calmed down." He didn't answer. I kept checking my phone, watching those 3 dots appear and disappear like some kind of cruel Morse code, but nothing came through. Around midnight, I noticed he'd turned off his read receipts. I woke up early the next morning, phone glued to my face before I even hit the bathroom. Still nothing from Owen. Not even those 3 little dots dancing across the screen. You know that sick feeling when you're sure you'll have a message, and then nothing? Yeah, that. I grabbed my laptop, thinking maybe he'd emailed instead. That's when I saw it. Emily's wedding site was still open from last week when I'd been helping her browse centerpieces. The Evite tab was right there, and something made me click. My stomach did this weird flip when the page loaded. Where it used to say Samantha Anderson +1 confirmed, in that fancy cursive font, it now just had guest TBD in cold digital letters. I mean, seriously? TBD? Like I was some random +1 they'd penciled in as a maybe? I'd already ordered their custom gift, this gorgeous hand-painted serving platter with their engagement date, and these little watercolor flowers that matched Emily's whole aesthetic. Try returning something like that. You can't just click undo on personalized ceramics. The venue details were still there, mocking me with their perfection. The garden room at Leon's, Friday at 6 p.m. But there was this new note I hadn't seen before. Final seating arrangements must be confirmed by Friday at noon for printing. 4 days. They were giving me 4 days before they literally wrote me out of the picture. I started typing messages to Owen. We need to talk. Delete. You're being childish. Delete. I miss you. Delete. Everyone says things they don't mean sometimes. Delete, delete, delete. My thumbs were getting tired from all the backspacing. That's when it hit me. I was playing this all wrong. Owen's sensitive, right? Like, remember when his college roommate said his chili was interesting and he didn't make it again for 2 years? He doesn't need space. He needs someone to guide him through his feelings. Show him it's not that deep. I grabbed my emergency stash of blank cards, because hello, organized adult here, and found this perfect one with a cartoon dog saying, "Rough day?" Inside, I wrote something cute about how sometimes my mouth moves faster than my brain, but my heart's always in the right place. Light, breezy, just self-deprecating enough to show I'm not taking it too seriously. Then I had this brilliant idea. I'd loop Diana in. Owen's mom loves those little Hallmark moments. She probably has a whole shelf of saved birthday cards somewhere. One quick text about how boys can be so dramatic sometimes, and she'd be on my side. Moms get it, right? They know their sons need a push sometimes. I checked the clock, 8:45 a.m. Owen would be at work by now, which meant I could swing by his apartment, leave the card where he'd definitely see it, maybe straighten up a little so he'd come home to a nice space. Sometimes you have to be the bigger person and just handle things. Take charge. Show everyone you're not going to disappear just because they're having feelings about one tiny comment. I grabbed my keys and the card, already planning my route. The engagement dinner was 4 days away, but I had this. I'd make it impossible for them to write me out. I mean, what were they going to do? Bounce me from the door like some kind of wedding crasher? I was halfway through reorganizing Owen's mail into neat little piles when my phone buzzed. His name lit up the screen, and my heart did this weird stutter step. Finally. Owen! I was just thinking, do not contact my family. His voice came through flat, like he was reading from a script. We'll talk after the dinner. The line went dead before I could even process what he'd said. I stood there in his empty apartment, holding a stack of bills I'd been sorting, and let his words sink in. We'll talk after the dinner. Not, we're done, or, it's over. He'd specifically said we would talk. After the dinner. I set the mail down carefully, exactly how I'd arranged it. See, this was classic Owen. He needed his processing time, his little bubble of space to work through things. Like that time I reorganized his kitchen without asking, and he didn't speak to me for 2 days. But then we'd laughed about it over wine, and he'd admitted my system made more sense. We'll talk after the dinner, I repeated to myself, sinking onto his couch. The familiar leather cushions still held that faint trace of his cologne. The more I turned his words over, the clearer everything became. He wasn't ending things. He was setting a timeline. A pause, not a period. I pulled out my phone, opening our text thread. The last message from him stared back. I need space. But now I had new information. Space until when? Until after the dinner. He'd given me an endpoint, a finish line to cross. All I had to do was respect his wishes until then, and everything would slide back into place. Remember when your best friend in 3rd grade declared she'd never speak to you again, but by recess you were sharing fruit roll-ups? Sometimes people just need to feel their feelings before they can move past them. Owen was basically doing the grown-up version of that. I checked the time. 2:47 p.m. The dinner was Friday at 6. That meant roughly 75 hours. I could do 75 hours. That was nothing. Just 3 days and change of lying low, letting him miss me. By Saturday morning, we'd probably be curled up right here on this couch, laughing about how everyone overreacted. We'll talk, I whispered again, letting those words wrap around me like a warm blanket. He could have said anything on that call, could have told me to get out of his apartment, could have said we were finished. Instead, he'd chosen those specific words. We'll talk. Future tense, a promise of continuation. I stood up, smoothing my hands over my jeans. The apartment looked perfect now, mail sorted, cushions fluffed, everything exactly how he liked it. When he got home, he'd see the evidence of my care, my attention to detail. He'd remember why we worked so well together. The wall clock ticked steadily as I gathered my purse. 75 hours. I could give him that, could be patient and understanding. After all, hadn't he just shown me the same courtesy? He could have made a scene, could have called security or changed his locks. Instead, he'd given me a roadmap back to us. I touched the framed photo by his door, the two of us at his company picnic last summer, my head thrown back laughing at something he'd said. Just a few days, I whispered to our frozen smiles. We just need to get through a few days. The next morning, I met Nadia at our usual coffee spot. The place smelled like pumpkin spice even though it was barely September, exactly the kind of artificial comfort I needed. She was already at our corner table, both hands wrapped around her mug like she was bracing herself. So, she said as I slid into my seat, have you given Owen the space he asked for? I stirred my latte, watching the foam swirl. I sorted his mail yesterday, just being helpful while he processes things. Nadia's forehead creased. Sam, that's not space. That's literally the opposite of space. You were in his apartment without him there? I have a key, I said, defensive heat rising in my chest. He gave it to me, and anyway, he called yesterday to say we'd talk after the dinner. He called to tell you to stop contacting his family, she corrected, using that careful tone she saves for when she thinks I'm being difficult. That's not an invitation to wait it out. That's a boundary. I narrowed my eyes. Whose side are you on? There aren't sides, Sam. I'm trying to help you not make this worse. By telling me to just sit here while he punishes me? While his sister erases me from her wedding? Over one comment that everybody's probably already forgotten about? The barista called out someone's order, and I jumped at the sharp sound. My hands were shaking slightly. When had that started? Own what you said, Nadia pressed. Apologize sincerely, and then lie low. That's literally all you need to do. Oh, sure. Just let him ghost me until he decides I've suffered enough. That's healthy. What's healthy about breaking into his apartment to organize his mail? I didn't break in. I used my key. The couple at the next table glanced over. I lowered my voice. And you know what? The fact that you're not supporting me right now says a lot about our friendship. Nadia sat back, something closing off in her expression. I am supporting you. I'm trying to stop you from turning an awkward moment into relationship suicide. By taking his side? By acting like I'm some kind of stalker for using a key he gave me? By being honest with you, which is what actual friends do. I gathered my purse, suddenly unable to sit there another second. Well, thanks for the honesty. Good to know where you really stand. That night, I couldn't sleep. Nadia's words kept echoing, mixing with Owen's, "We'll talk after." I pulled up Instagram, finding myself on Jacob's profile. There he was, grinning in photos at company events, family gatherings, hiking trips. He'd always been so easy to talk to, quick with a joke or a smile. Nothing like Owen's careful consideration of every word. I clicked through to our past interactions, just likes and casual comments, nothing that could possibly upset anyone. How had everything gotten so twisted? This whole situation was ridiculous. If I could just clear the air with Jacob, show everyone they were overreacting. My thumbs hovered over the message button. This wasn't breaking Owen's rules, technically. He'd said not to contact his family, but that was about showing up or calling. A quick DM to Jacob just to diffuse the tension, that was different. That was fixing things. I started typing, "No weirdness, right?" I joke when I'm nervous. I hit send and waited, watching those 3 dots appear and disappear like some kind of twisted magic trick. After an hour, I checked again, delivered but not read. By midnight, still nothing. I mean, how hard is it to type LOL or a thumbs up? That's all I needed, proof that things weren't as dramatic as everyone was making them. The autumn wind rattled my bedroom window, and I pulled the blanket tighter. Remember last October when Owen and I went apple picking? The orchard air was crisp like this, and he'd lifted me onto his shoulders so I could reach the highest branches. Now he wouldn't even answer a text. My phone buzzed around 2 a.m. Finally. But it wasn't Jacob. It was Nadia. "Are you awake?" she wrote. "Obviously. What's up?" 3 dots. A pause. Then, "You need to know something. Someone just sent me screenshots." My stomach dropped. "Screenshots of what?" "Your DM to Jacob. Emily has them." I sat up straight, fully alert now. "How does Emily have my private messages?" Jacob showed her. She's sharing them with everyone, Sam. Through Karen, from the book club. Karen. Of course it was Karen, who'd been trying to get closer to Owen's family ever since she moved onto their street. That's literally illegal, I typed. Those are private messages. Sam. Another pause. Why did you message him? To fix things, to show everyone they're overreacting. I sent one normal friendly message trying to clear the air. How is that screenshot worthy? Because Owen specifically asked you not to contact his family. I threw my phone onto the pillow. Of course Nadia would twist this around too. Everyone was so determined to make me the villain here. I retrieved the phone and typed, so Jacob screenshots a harmless message and gives it to his sister, who passes it to neighborhood gossips, and somehow I'm still the bad guy? You broke a clear boundary. I tried to fix things by doing exactly what Owen asked you not to do. My hands were shaking as I wrote back. Thanks for the lecture. Really helpful. Glad to know where your loyalty lies. I switched off my phone before she could respond. The nerve of these people, acting like I was some kind of stalker for sending one friendly message. They were the ones spreading private conversations around like some high school smear campaign. Turning my phone back on, I checked the time. 2:47 a.m., less than 40 hours until Friday's noon deadline. Emily probably thought she was so clever, using Karen to make me look desperate, but I wasn't going to let them push me out that easily. If they wanted to play games with screenshots and gossip, fine. But I wasn't going to sit here and let them control the narrative. I stared at my dark phone screen, seeing my own reflection distorted in the glass. They thought they had me cornered? Please. I hadn't even started fighting back yet. And if Emily wanted to make this about exposure and embarrassment, she had no idea what kind of ammunition I was sitting on. The wind picked up outside, rattling the window harder now. Somewhere in this city, Emily was probably sleeping soundly, thinking she'd won this round. But she hadn't counted on one thing. I had nothing left to lose. Thursday morning hit like a slap. One day left. I'd wasted too much time letting them control everything. The narrative, the screenshots, even my relationship status. But I had an advantage they'd forgotten about. I'm excellent under pressure. Ask anyone at work. Crisis management is kind of my thing. I called in sick and spread my materials across the kitchen counter. Laptop, printer paper, and my go-to presentation notepad. The same one I'd used for that killer quarterly report last spring. Remember how the VP actually clapped? Yeah, that's the level of planning I'm talking about. Family, I wrote at the top of the page. Honesty. Then, second chances. The words flowed after that, like they always do when I'm right. I'd start with something disarming, maybe about how families are built on truth, even when it's uncomfortable. How real love means saying the hard things. They'd have to respect that, right? The mirror in my hallway became my audience. We're all here tonight to celebrate love, I practiced, making steady eye contact with myself. And what is love without honesty? Without the courage to speak truth, even when it's difficult. I adjusted my stance, softening my expression. The key was to look vulnerable, but strong. Yes, I made a comment, and yes, it caused pain. But isn't pain sometimes the doorway to deeper understanding? God, that was good. I wrote it down immediately, then printed 3 copies. You never know when someone might want to save meaningful words for later. Emily might even want one for her engagement memory book. Once she realized I'd turned this whole mess into a teaching moment about growth and forgiveness. The toast needed to be exactly 2 minutes long. Any shorter wouldn't have impact. Any longer risked interruption. I set my phone timer and ran through it again. When Owen and I first started dating, my voice caught unexpectedly. The autumn sunlight through my window cast the same golden glow as that first coffee date, when he'd spent 10 minutes trying to open a stuck jar of sugar for the elderly couple next to us. But I couldn't let sentimentality derail my momentum. This wasn't about memories. It was about taking control of the narrative. I laid out my outfit on the bed. The cream silk blouse I'd worn to his cousin's wedding, family events were my strength, dark tailored pants, power without aggression, and those subtle pearl earrings his mother had complimented once. The ensemble said everything. I belong here. I'm polished. I'm permanent. Standing at my bedroom mirror, clutching the final draft, I delivered the closing lines one more time. So yes, sometimes honesty stings. Sometimes truth feels like a weapon. But isn't that exactly why we need it? To cut through pretense and find what's real? I practiced my smile, warm, confident, just vulnerable enough. The kind of smile that makes people forget why they were angry in the first place. The kind that says, I'm the bigger person here. I'm the one brave enough to show up and speak truth. My phone buzzed. Another blocked number, probably Nadia trying to warn me again. I ignored it. They thought they could shut me out with seating charts and screenshots. Please. I had something better. I had a plan. And by this time tomorrow, everyone would understand exactly who the real villain was in this story. I arrived at Bellini's 40 minutes early, timing it perfectly between the staff's setup and the first guests. The maitre d' recognized me from the engagement brunch last month. Right this way, Ms. Anderson, he said, but Emily's voice cut through the dim lighting like a blade. She won't be joining us. Emily stood by the coat check, blonde hair swept into that precise updo she always managed. But it was the manila envelope in her manicured hands that made my stomach clench. I gripped my own envelope tighter, the one with my carefully printed toast inside. Emily, hey! I kept my voice bright, practiced. I actually wanted to talk to you about what? She pulled out papers, honest-to-God printed screenshots, and held them like evidence in a trial. About telling my brother he's the hot one at a family cookout? Or about messaging Jacob at midnight saying we should grab a drink sometime with a winking face? My chest went cold. That message was private. Ancient history from the night of the cookout, sent after 2 glasses of wine when Owen wasn't answering texts. I hadn't even meant anything by it. That's completely taken out of context, I said, but Emily was already sliding out more papers. My throat dried up as I recognized more screenshots. Old Instagram DMs I'd forgotten about, comparing the brothers like some kind of, well, it wasn't as bad as they were making it sound. Really? Emily's voice could have frozen hell. Because the context seems pretty clear. Here's you last Christmas. Owen's sweet, but Jacob's got that sales guy charm. And here's you in March. Owen's stable, but sometimes I wonder if I'm settling too early. The maitre d' suddenly found something fascinating to do in the other direction. Through the windows, I could see cars pulling up. Guests would start arriving any second. Those were private thoughts, I said. Everyone has private thoughts. I came tonight to give a toast about family and honesty. Honesty? Emily stepped closer, her voice dropping. You've been systematically undermining my brother while trying to keep a backup plan warm. You're not here for family. You're here because you can't stand losing control. That's not... I started, but she cut me off again. You're not welcome here, she said. Not tonight, not ever again. Owen knows everything, and he agrees. Please leave before this gets embarrassing. I saw movement behind her, guests approaching the door, wrapped gifts in hand. My carefully planned toast crumpled in my fist as Emily gestured to the host stand. Please escort Ms. Anderson out. You can't do this, I said, but the young host was already at my elbow, gentle but firm. Owen will want to hear my side. He'll understand I came to honor your family. Honor? Emily's laugh was ice. Go home, Samantha. It's over. The host guided me through the door just as the first guests reached it. Cool night air hit my face as I stumbled onto the sidewalk. Through the windows, I could see Emily greeting people with that perfect smile, that perfect poise, as if she hadn't just destroyed someone's life with a few pieces of paper. I paced the sidewalk, checking my phone. Owen would call. He had to call. Once he knew I'd tried to make things right, tried to speak from the heart about family and forgiveness, he'd understand. He'd see who really cared about preserving relationships here. My heels clicked against concrete as I traced the same path again and again. Any minute now. Any minute he'd come out and hear my side. I slammed my apartment door so hard the neighbors' wind chimes rattled. My feet ached from pacing outside that restaurant for 2 hours. 2 hours. While everyone inside laughed and clinked glasses like they hadn't just shredded someone's dignity. My phone stayed silent the whole time, except for notifications about a sale at Nordstrom. Like the universe was mocking me. He'll call, I muttered, kicking off my heels. They hit the wall with satisfying thuds. He has to call. I changed into sweats, reheated leftover Chinese food, and planted myself on the couch with my phone. The screen's glow hurt my eyes as I refreshed my messages again and again. That's when Nadia's text came through. Owen asked me to tell you it's over. Your key is on your doormat in an envelope. I'm sorry, Sam. The lo mein turned to cement in my stomach. I typed back so fast my thumbs cramped. Seriously? He's using you as his messenger now? Some friend you turned out to be. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, I told you to give him space. I warned you about messaging Jacob. This isn't about taking sides. You crossed lines. Oh, that's rich, I fired back. You're just jealous because Owen and I had something real before everyone twisted it. Thanks for showing your true colors. I waited for her response, blood pounding in my ears. Instead, my next message bounced back. Unable to send. This person has blocked you. Coward! I screamed at the phone. The word echoed off my empty walls. My hands shook as I yanked open my front door. There it was, a plain white envelope on the welcome mat. Inside, my spare key, still on that stupid cat keychain I'd bought when he first gave it to me. And something else. The engagement dinner place card with my name crossed out in thick black marker. The key's metal edge bit into my palm as I squeezed it. 6 months of dinners, weekend trips, family gatherings, all erased because people couldn't handle honesty. Because Owen was too sensitive to admit his brother was objectively attractive. Because Nadia was too weak to stand up for her oldest friend. I scrolled through my contact list, desperate to call someone, anyone, but who was left? Everyone would take their side, paint me as the villain. They'd probably already heard Emily's version, seen those stupid screenshots she'd collected like some obsessed detective. My throat burned as I stared at the envelope. They thought they could just write me out of their story, pretend I never existed. The place card's thick paper crumpled in my fist. I'm not wrong, I whispered to my empty living room. I'm just the only one brave enough to say what everyone thinks. But my voice sounded hollow even to me. My phone stayed dark, my best friend was gone, and the key in my hand felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Looking back, maybe I should have kept my mouth shut that day at the cookout. Maybe I should have. But no. No, they're the ones who overreacted. They're the ones who turned one honest comment into this whole drama. I'm not the bad guy here. I am not the bad guy here. Sunlight stabbed through my blinds the next morning, making my head throb. I'd fallen asleep on the couch, still clutching my phone, which was now dead. Just like everything else in my life, apparently. The envelope sat on my kitchen table where I'd dropped it last night, looking harmless and ordinary, like it hadn't just demolished my entire world. I shuffled over, coffee mug trembling in my hand, and pulled out the contents again. The metal of the key felt cold against my fingers. That stupid cat keychain now seemed to mock me with its cheerful smile. Remember when you were happy enough to buy something this cute? Remember when you belonged? The place card was even worse. Emily had probably spent weeks choosing that fancy cream-colored cardstock, that elegant font. Ms. Samantha Anderson, in perfect calligraphy, now violated by an angry black line. One stroke of a Sharpie, and poof, I ceased to exist in their world. This is ridiculous, I muttered, tracing the harsh black mark. People don't just cancel other people over one comment. But they had. Owen was gone. Nadia, my Nadia, who'd helped me through every breakup since college, who knew all my secrets, had blocked me. The silence in my apartment pressed against my ears like cotton wool. Remember how Owen used to surprise me with coffee in bed on Sundays? The way his mom taught me her secret marinara recipe? Those summer evenings playing cards with Nadia, laughing until wine came out our noses? Gone, gone, gone. Because I dared to say what everyone else was thinking. I lined up the key and place cards side by side on the table, these artifacts of my excommunication. Such small things to represent such a massive loss. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything soft and warm, leaving just empty space and echo. They're being dramatic, I announced to my coffee mug. Acting like I committed some horrible crime when all I did was point out the obvious. Owen's brother is attractive. That's just biology. Facts. Since when is honesty a capital offense? The morning light caught the key's metal edge, sending a bright reflection across my wall. I remembered the day Owen gave it to me, how his eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled. For emergencies, he'd said, but we both knew it meant more. Now here it was, returned through a messenger because he couldn't even face me himself. And Nadia? 20 years of friendship, vaporized because she couldn't handle my truth-telling. As if she'd never noticed anyone's looks before. As if she was so perfect. I picked up the place card again, studying Emily's precise handwriting beneath that brutal black line. The fancy dinner was probably happening right now. Toasts, tears, champagne, the whole fairy tale. And I was here, erased, because I'd committed the cardinal sin of speaking out loud what everyone else only thought. My laugh sounded bitter even to my own ears as I dropped the card back onto the table. You know what? I said to the empty kitchen. Honestly, he should be flattered I liked his jeans.